Okay, today's lesson is on chapter 14, lesson 2 and 3, dividing decimals by whole numbers, and then also on dividing decimals by whole numbers with decimal quotients. So if you look at the problem on page 296 about Eli riding his bike around the track 8 times, and then he rides a total of 9.6 kilometers. The abbreviation for kilometers is km. They want to know how long is the track, okay? So we only know the total amount, which is 9.6 kilometers. And we know that he was able to cover that much distance because he went around 8 times, right? And we only want to know how big the actual track is, not how much he traveled or how many times he went around. So we're going to use decimals for way 1. Okay, way 1 is using decimals. Okay, and basically you're going to just divide like you normally did in the past. And how do you know which number goes in at the end? It is the dividend, right? So it comes at the end, right? So that would be 9.6, okay? The total number of miles that he traveled divided by the divisor, which is 8, how many times he went around, okay? And then you just do it as a normal division problem. So you would divide as if it were a whole number, right? So how many times does 8 go into 9? Once. Very good. 8 times 1 is 8. And then you bring it down. 9 minus 8 is 1. Now we know that 8 cannot go into 1, so we need to bring down the 6 and make a new number 16. How many times does 8 go into 16? 2. Very good. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 minus 16 is 0. Very good. Now, we're not done yet. We need to put the decimal point in the quotient directly above where it is. So right now, the decimal is right here between the 9 and the 6. So you're going to take and put it right above it. Okay, there's no movement. Just you're putting the decimal point exactly above where it is. And the answer is 1.2. Okay, pretty easy. All you do is divide, and you just need to make sure your decimal is put in the right place. And it's easy because you just put it right where it belongs, okay, right above it. Now, the second method is using fractions. Oh no, what is this doing? Okay, so, hold on. Yeah, it's recording.
Oh, I think you didn't go to the behind slide because I think you have to click this like arrow or something, go back. And
No, it's gonna record over what I just did. So. Okay, so we got 1.2. Here we go. 96 over 10. Okay, so we have 1.2, and the question was asking us how long was the track, right? So our answer should be 1.2 kilometers. Okay? So we learned 2 ways in which you could divide and get an answer, your quotient. in terms of dividing by a whole number. Now, if you look at lesson 3, which is on page 298, you'll see that now we're going to divide the whole numbers and your quotient is going to have a decimal in it. So look at 298. Laura will volunteer at the Special Olympics for 3 hours. She will work at 4 different events. She will spend the same amount of time at each event. What part of an hour will she spend at each event? Since Laura will spend the same amount of time at each event, we have to divide, right? We're going to take the 3 hours and we're going to divide that by 4, which will equal some number that we don't know yet, okay? So we're going to write a decimal point in the dividend and a 0 in the tens place of the dividend. So here we have the problem, 3 divided by 4. Now, we know that 4 is greater than 3, right? So it means it can't go into it. So what would we do? So we're going to add a decimal point and we're going to add a 0 in there, okay? We're adding a decimal point, we're adding the 0, okay? Now we can think of it as if it's 4 into how many times does 4 go into 30? 7, right? So then you're going to put 7 up here. Bring the decimal point up, and 4 times 7 is 28. 30 minus 28 is 2. Now we don't want a remainder, so we're going to add another what? Okay, we're going to add another 0, and I'm going to bring that down and make this 20. So how many times does 4 go into 20? 5 times, right? 4 times 5 is 20. 20 minus 20 is 0. Okay, so I have 0.75, but that doesn't answer my question. My question was, how much time will she spend at each event? So she's going to spend 0.75 hours, or hour because it's not even 1 hour yet, at each event. So 3/4 of an hour at each event, which would be how many minutes?
45.
3/4 of 60 is 45 minutes. Very good. So she's going to spend 45 minutes at each event at the Special Olympics. So this will be helpful when you guys are trying to figure out what you got on your test, on your homework, whatever percentage it is, right? So if I said there were 8 problems and you only got 3 right, what would your score be? Okay? So you're going to write that as a decimal. So you're going to take that and you're going to have 3 divided by 8. Okay? So we know that 8 can't go into 3 without going into the decimal place. So we're going to add a decimal and we're going to add a 0. How many times can 8 go into 30? 3 times. 8 times 3 is 24. 30 minus 24 is 6. Okay? So I have a remainder here, and I don't want the remainder, so I'm going to add another what? 0. So let's extend this out. Drop the 0. How many times does 8 go into 60? 7 times, right? 8 times 7 is 56. 60 minus 56 is 4. I still have a remainder, so what do I need to do? Add another 0. How many times does 8 go into 40? 5 times. 8 times 5 is 40. 40 minus 40 is 0. Now we finally don't have a remainder. Now, don't forget, you need to bring up the decimal right above here, right above where it's placed, and your answer is 0.375 as a decimal. But how would you know what the percentage is? What is the percentage I got on my test? You just move it over how many decimal place over how many? 2 places, because you're multiplying by what? 100, right? We learned that in the last chapter. So I would have gotten a 37.5%. If I rounded that, I would get 38%. Okay? Not a fantastic score, but always room for improvement. Okay, so when you guys are dividing, okay, whether it be by a whole number or whether it be whether the dividend is the whole number or whether the divisor is the whole number, sometimes you're going to have to add the zeros on and make it into a decimal, and sometimes you won't have to. Okay?